Hey everyone, and welcome back to Ontario Cryptids. This weekend up here in Canada, we are celebrating the May 24, which is the Victoria Day long weekend. So happy Victoria Day to all my viewers and subscribers. Hope you all have a great extra day and just relax. Since my birthday is prior to Victoria Day, I always take a few extra days off to celebrate both. Today I'm bringing you 4 encounters from paranormals to cryptids. I hope you all enjoy. Quick reminder that if you have an encounter story that you would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com. I would be honored to share your story with like-minded people. It doesn't matter the length, because if it doesn't make it to the actual Sunday encounters, it will make it as a short. Now, sit back and relax as we begin with today's encounters. For this first encounter, the location nor the date was provided. When I was 6, I went to the bathroom during the night. It was about 3 a.m., so my parents and siblings were sleeping and our suburban street was empty. It was the second floor of a 2-story home. I usually turned the lights on, but I really had to go, so I peed in the dark with just enough light from the street lamp coming in from the window behind me and the toilet. I finished, flushed, then jumped out of my skin because I heard knocking on the window. I turned to see what it was, and there was an old lady with a black shawl over her shoulders floating outside of the window. I assumed she was floating. I could only see her from the waist up, but there was literally nowhere for her to stand, so either that or she silently maneuvered and climbed up a big ladder. When our eyes met, she smiled and in a low, raspy voice said, "You should be in bed." I was overcome with fear and did what I always did at night when I felt scared. I pretended to sleep. I lay down on the carpet bathroom floor in a fetal position. I remembered so vividly the feeling of the carpet against my skin, my heart pumping, and the old lady saying, "I know you're not sleeping." Then dead silence again. I stayed on the floor for a few minutes, then ran back to my room, hid under the blankets, and stayed awake until breakfast. I told my mom, and she said it was a nightmare. I assured her it wasn't, because I remained awake since it happened. I told my siblings, and they said it must have been a nightmare too, but I know what I saw, heard, and felt. This next one takes place in 2014, and we're heading to the United Kingdom, to be more precise, in Bolton, which is located in northwest England. In 2014, I was living with my then girlfriend, now wife, and our son in a terraced house close to the center of Bolton in northwest England. The house is what we call a 2 up, 2 down, because they have 2 rooms upstairs and 2 rooms downstairs. The stairs ran down the kitchen side of the wall that divided the 2 downstairs rooms. My girlfriend was working on a course to become a veterinarian nurse. For this, she had to work 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. shifts. So there was just me and my son in the house. I had put him to bed a few hours before and was now downstairs washing the pots and pans. I heard footsteps on the landing and I assumed it was my son, thinking he had woken up and was now running around upstairs looking for us, as he was apt to do. I dried my hands and prepared to go through the routine of putting him back to bed. But I noticed these were not the erratic footsteps of a child, but a heavy, deliberate footsteps of an adult. The footsteps began to descend the stairs. I turned to see not my son, but a tall woman dressed in a long white gown. As her head came into view, I could see she was well over 6 foot tall, had long blonde hair. The stairs curved to the left as they approached the ground. As this woman rounded the corner, I saw her face. She looked odd. Her features were human, but something was off about them, like she was something imitating a human. As she took the last step towards the floor, she vanished. I stood still in shock for a few moments, but then plucked up the courage to go upstairs to check on my son. Thankfully, he was still fast asleep. About half an hour later, my girlfriend got home. I was still slightly shaken up, but happy to see another real human. This next encounter takes place on June 16th of 2022. We're headed to Valley County, Idaho, to a place called Rainbow Lakes. A year ago, 2 friends and I went backpacking in Rainbow Lakes in Idaho. The trip started on June 16th of 2022. We drove up the mountain to a trailhead and no one was there. We were probably 15 miles from the next person. As we hiked up the saddle of the mountain and into the valley, there was what sounded like someone hitting a tree with a branch as we entered the trees. There was still plenty of snow under the trees with no trail visible. We had a GPS, however, so finding the lake was no issue. This also made it difficult for anyone to know where we were. We walked over deep snow and made it to the campground fine. The whole time we walked there, I felt weird. There was no sound other than our steps and the occasional creak. I disregarded this, however, because of all the snow. We set up camp and had one tent for all of us, a crammed 3-man tent. One friend and I had plans to build and stay in a shelter, which was soon made. As it got dark and heavy winds started to come through, the only light was the coals getting stroked by the wind. But soon there was a blue light on top of the trees. I looked out of the shelter to see the blue light source go across the sky without any sound, no more than 50 feet above the trees right over us. My friends had seen the light as well. We all got spooked, and soon all of us were in the tent. While trying to sleep, I started to hear footsteps around our campsite. I am no mountain man, but I'm also not new to the outdoors, and I knew that whatever it was had 2 legs and not 4. The strides were long and slow, stopping around our campsite and even getting a couple of feet from the door of the tent. I was too scared to move a muscle, except get my hands up close to my exposed ear. All I did was pace around for about 45 minutes, stopping periodically. The wind was still blowing and pushed in the tent with a couple of gusts. At some point, the footsteps trailed off, and I woke up that morning feeling terrible. I asked my friends if they heard it as well, and one of them corroborated my story. The other slept through the whole thing. I opened the tent to make breakfast, and I heard a crack up in the mountains, most likely unrelated. We searched for footprints and found some, but what was weird is there wasn't enough. We only found 3, 1 solitaire and 2 in a stride, probably 4 feet apart. The problem is that they were in snow, and there was no other footprints remotely close to them, so we discarded them. That morning, we all had a feeling of dread, and once again, there wasn't a sound. The friend that slept through it was the least scared, and went up the hill to take a dump. He looked down to see 2 trees moving opposite of each other like something was shaking them. There wasn't any wind anymore, and only those trees moved. I said, we should pack up and get out of there as soon as we can, as we were supposed to stay there 2 nights. They agreed, and the whole way back, and ever since waking up, we felt we were being watched. As we left the trees, we heard a single smack against a tree like we did on the way in, but the rest of the trip went smoothly. This last encounter takes place on April 15th of 2023. We're heading to Waller County, Texas, and the nearest town is Patterson. The dogman my buddies and I came across on April 15 near Cowley, Texas, while cutting through Morton Road between 362 and Durkin Road, had amber-looking eyes. It was around 11:30 p.m. when we cut through Morton Road. We backed out of that dirt road so fast and then drove south on Durkins and the left onto Royal Road, while the entire time looking over to the open field with our spotlight and the one rifle in the truck. Once we made the right onto 362 and headed south, we began to feel a little bit more relaxed. We then took it all the way south to 359 and then made a left on Highway 90 and didn't stop till we made it to our friend's house in Caddy. We were coming from Patterson, Texas, where one of our other friends live. We also like to go through the patch on Morton Road during the day because it's like off-roading, and who doesn't like that? We originally thought of heading to Royal High School on Royal Road and decorating the grounds with beer cans, but we instead decided to turn left and off-road at night when we drove past Morton Road. It's the reason why we were so chilled about coming across what we thought was a large dog till it turned around and stood on two legs and growled at us. Its growl was deep but low. It rattled the entire truck. One of my friends told me that the only thing they remember was the sound it made while breathing, which was that of a horse. My buddy's truck is lifted, and usually when I stand in front of the hood, it is around the high part of my chest, and I'm 5'8", but when this thing stood up, you could see most of its waist area, so it had to be taller than I. I can't give an exact measurement because I just don't know. All I know is that it wasn't a bear. I've seen black bears before. The spotlight caught it and it looked like my buddy's German Shepherd and or its Maligator with amber-looking eyes. Maybe it was a big coy dog or coy wolf or a bear with mange, but it was pretty tall and wide. It happened so quick that I'm having a hard time being legible with my thoughts here. Sorry about that. So we put it in reverse and got the hell out of there, and I drove all the way to Caddy without stopping anywhere. Then we barricaded ourselves in with our shotguns and just sat there in the middle of the dark with our backs to each other for the rest of the night. We didn't leave the house till midday on Sunday to check the dashboard camera, which had recorded over the entire incident the previous night. Our cell phones recorded nothing but jumble, and my buddy's dog wouldn't come near the truck as it kept whimpering around it with its tail behind its leg. The dashboard camera recorded over all the data on Sunday. We went through it, and it was from when the truck was parked at our friend's house. The cell phone quality was so bad we erased it. I dropped my phone on the floor of the truck and didn't find it until Sunday afternoon. It is not something we were planning for, like most of those videos you see on the web. Monday morning came around and we all called in sick because we refused to get out of the house till the sun was out. This obviously upset our family members who thought we were being irresponsible, and we finally grew up the courage to return to Morton Road on Monday afternoon. 6 trucks entered Morton Road off Durkin Road, and we were all armed with shotguns and hunting rifles. We didn't find any tracks either, which is weird because it had rained heavy the past few days, so the ground was soft and there was standing water on Morton Road. The only thing we found was the preserved stench, like something had died mixed with metallic smell like blood and urine. The dogs we brought with us was 2 German Shepherds, 1 Maligator, and 1 Doberman. They were all whimpering nervously around the site like they didn't want to be there. After the incident, I have spent the rest of April just reading everything I could about dogman encounters. My other 3 friends don't want to talk about it. And one of them broke up with his girlfriend of 3 years because he just refused to spend a weekend hiking with her through the Addicts Reserve hiking trails. They got back together after we were able to get him to open up about it, but I'm the only one that has put this on the web. It has been a month and I still refuse to be out later than sundown. I don't leave the house early in the morning anymore to go to the gym at 5 a.m. In fact, I have changed my life around completely, and that includes no more before bed walks at night with my dog. I have installed security bars on all of my first floor windows, added spotlights to my entire home, and placed better security cameras. I also no longer drive through country roads, even during the day, especially by myself because I feel exposed. Last week, I refused to go fishing on the Brazos River and turned out heading for the weekend to Lake Conroe. I've always wanted to go fishing at the end of East Matagorda Bay, but to get there, one would have to off-road on a 4x4 west of Matagorda Beach on a dirt trail for about 15 miles. Yet, after this experience, I no longer feel safe. I just want to go back to being ignorant about things that go bump in the night. There you have it, folks. We had a little bit of everything. I hope you all enjoyed. We don't typically have a lot of Dogman encounter stories on this channel, so that was refreshing. Once again, I would like to wish all my Canadian viewers and subscribers a happy Victoria Day weekend. If these stories reminded you of an encounter that you may have had and would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com. I would be honored to share your story on this channel. Thanks for listening until the end. I truly appreciate it. Please hit the like button on your way out and smash the subscribe button if you're new to my channel. Have a great weekend, and I hope to see you all next week right here on Ontario Cryptids.